What would you do if your afternoons were absolutely free and you got paid whether you worked or not? My guest today, John Tsai, works 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. And he says any broker can use this exact same system. But he didn't start it that way. 6 months in, he had only closed 2 deals. He was in $2,500 left in his pocket and headed for $90,000 in debt. 10 years later, he's closed 150. This is real estate transactions as a realtor. He was a president of eXp Realty. And in this episode, he talks about kind of three big things: $100,000 mistake, how a partner mistake cost him $100,000, his 7-11-4 method, how he creates content on autopilot, and then what he thinks he calls the real pyramid scheme, which is the corporate model. I want to just say that this conversation with John was awesome. He's a very driven guy, but he's got a young family now, and he's realized that if you get the right model, you can get a lot further with the correct model in business. It's also true in the mortgage business. And at the end of this episode, I'll talk a little bit about our brokerage and how it's modeled after eXp. Before I jump into this, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Ownwell. Ownwell is an amazing tool for Canadian brokers. It allows them to engage in their database. They got really high open rates. It shows the homeowners' buying power and home equity on a monthly basis. And it also helps you find in your database deals where you can help people save money. Check them out at ownwell.com/Scott and check out this conversation with John.
Thanks for having me, Scott. And, last time we weren't able to connect. I had a little bit of a mishap here, but, nice to be here and looking forward to our chat.
Yeah, me too. So I'd met you at the EXP conference and I'd found out through the grapevine that you were the president of EXP Canada for a year. Successful real estate agent, successful team builder within, real estate team, then successful in terms of growing a recruiting organization through EXP, and then moved into corporate, and now you're back. And so I thought this is somebody who's seen four different kind of elements of our business, and maybe we can talk about what you've learned from those different things and where you're going in the future. So maybe just start me off with how you got here. I'd love to know how you ended up in real estate.
Yeah, actually, I was in university and I was having a vacation in Taiwan. That's where I'm from. And it was 2002. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was in psychology, UBC. And, I met a gentleman just chilling out in Taiwan. We were at the gym and he was a Caucasian gentleman in Taiwan. I'm like, it's Tuesday afternoon and you're not working. What are you? Who are you? And why are you here? So he said, my name is Will. And I'm retired. I'm 42 years old. I used to start English schools here in Taiwan. I have since sold them and I bought a lot of real estate. And now I just live off the rental income. I'm like, oh my gosh, can I be you?
Right.
And he said, just go read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it basically is what I followed to retire at 42. I said, okay, great. I went and bought the book. That was literally the first book I've ever met, cover to cover. And then I felt like that was the only time I started to really understand what business is all about. And that we are not here to just get a job, work until 65, live off our pension and die. Right. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to become a real estate investor. And how was I going to do that? It took me about 4 years. I worked retail. I worked this and that and travel a little bit, have some fun in my, mid-20s, right? And 26 years old, I finally got my crap together and, registered for the exam. I did it. And that was when I went full in and just full time. And in my first half year, I did 2 transactions, made $2,500. I'm like, is this? And I was completely broke,
Yeah.
$15K in debt. Through the next 2 years, I went approximately $85,000 to $90,000 in debt at the maximum. And I was like, what am I doing with this career here? So that's when I fell into coaching with Mike Ferry.
Yeah.
After, being with Mike, being coached by him, I went from 10 transactions in 2008 all the way to 33 transactions, 39, 45, 53, and then, 54, and then 91. And then I hit a high 10th year in my career, 149 sales as a solo agent.
Boy, you must have been running flat out.
Basically, yeah. And 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week. And, I wasn't able to sustain that. So that's when I started to think about, okay, well, I need to build something where it runs without me. So I struggled through it. It was a revolving door. I had 2 agents, 7 agents, 2 agents, 7 agents. And then once I joined EXP, it gave me the platform to run the team a little bit more smoothly and with more income, the revenue share, the resources. So in 2019, when we joined EXP, I started with 4 agents. I ended a year with 7. And in 2020, we went to 13 agents. In 2021, we went to 15 agents. But all at the same time, my organization with EXP grew to about 500. And that back then gave me enough residual income on the side where I can say at the end of 2021, I stepped out of production, meaning I no longer took a buyer, or went on a listing appointment.
Right.
Utilizing the EXP platform so well, I was recognized by Glenn Sanford, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? We need somebody just like you who has energy, who's somewhat young."
Yeah.
And
Well, you do look young. I know the
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. And he said, "You gotta be in 5 cities a month, promoting EXP for EXP Canada. You know, you can still run your team, you can still grow your organization, but I want you to be all over social media," which I did. So 2023 to 2024, I flew 3 to 5 times a month to be in 3 to 5 cities in Canada,
Mhm.
promoted the company, and we went from 5,600 agents to about 7,000 agents that year I was there.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of that, and at the end, I was very, again, very burnt out because I was running my team and then doing the president thing. So I stepped down in 2024, and ever since, just focusing on building the team, building the organization. I built a coaching program called List More, Close More for agents as well, and now we're here in May 2026 and having the most fun I've ever had in my life, being with my family, having the freedom. I still work very hard, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but having the freedom to choose, and there's options where I say, "You know what? I don't need to be in the day to day. I can take off, but I still work because I want to keep myself sharp."
Yeah.
So that's kind of the 20-year journey I just gave
In
you.
in
I
4
hope that
minutes, which is incredible that you were able to do
yeah.
it so quickly. I got a couple of observations and then the question. I noticed that so
Sure.
you started out in the real estate business, struggled, but then you found a model like Mike Ferry. Yeah, so Mike Ferry, and then you found something and then that made you make the jump. And then the same thing when you decided that, okay, 140 transactions a year by myself, I got to build out a team. Then you plugged into another model, being EXP's model. Each of those upgrades that you got came from adopting either some new coaching frameworks or some new model that allowed on top of the last thing. Even though you have
You
energy and
got
you
it.
have all those things, like it just, I guess, really highlights the importance of making those choices. Hey.
I think so, and I am very self-aware that I'm not super creative with things, but I know because of my personality, I persist until I win.
Hmm.
And when you give me a system to follow,
Yes.
I persist and I work it until it works.
Right.
The Mike Ferry system, some people go in there and like, "This doesn't work." I'm like, I worked it until it worked because I didn't make any sales in the first 6 months of the program. Some people would have said, "You know what? This Mike Ferry thing doesn't work." And it started working.
Hmm.
And EXP was like, "Oh my goodness, this system I can work." And EXP actually panned out very quickly for me. I had 165 agents by the end of year one. Maybe I'm lucky, but I did, was very intentional in working the system.
Right. So you follow the system, but also you had more skill the second time. So think of, I'm sure that when you learned the Mike Ferry stuff, your skill level was, you had ambition, but the skill level was lower. The second time, your skill level is higher, and you're just going to execute faster.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Definitely. I mean, it was 13 years in the business. I felt the pain. I actually had experience in network marketing as well. During 2008, when everything was crashing down, my wife and I joined USANA,
Yeah.
and I got introduced to the MLM, the network marketing system, where I was like, okay, wait a minute. We can sell and we can build residual income. This is great. So when EXP came along, I was like, oh my gosh,
Right.
I could sell and then I can build an organization where it keeps paying me whether or not I work. So this is great.
Someone who's listening to this and they go, well, I don't want to, with that model, EXP model, our mortgage model is the same, but when they say it's an MLM, or what's your thoughts on that or your response to that? Because some people will criticize it. It's a flaw instead of a feature.
I think it's a major feature if you can take your ego out of the way, right? Because okay, well, pyramid scheme or like MLM, like these are buzzwords that people are like refrain from. You even want to
Hmm.
listen to it like ooh, downline those buzzwords. But wait a minute, the real pyramid scheme is the corporate world where only the top makes the money and everybody else just gets paid a salary. They don't have ownership. They can't grow beyond where they're at. There's a cap to your income. Whereas in the network marketing system, anybody who plugs into the system, even 5 years later than the guy on top, can make more than the guy on top.
Hmm.
Tell me which one's more fair. Only the guy on top makes money, or everybody else has an opportunity to work smart, work hard, and make more money than the guy on top. You tell me which one's more fair.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I always say this, every business is shaped like a pyramid. The difference is that,
Yeah.
and what I love about it is that it allows friends to bring friends, and they care about their person's success versus an investor making money that you have no idea who they are, and you can't call them up. And even with, a lot of companies have recruiters, and so the recruiters get a bonus for recruiting mortgage brokers, or probably the same thing in real estate. But when you have a problem on a file, the recruiter isn't the person you call. You call your friend. And so you're better off to have a mechanism to support friends, I think, where friends can, like, okay, I called my buddy, he's going to succeed, we both win. And it doesn't cost either one of them. It costs the company, but it doesn't cost the individual person, right?
That's it. And I think recruiting has been viewed and heard as also a bad word. But listen, recruiting and sales, right? It's just giving people what they want. If I bring you in, there's no money to be made if I don't help you become successful.
Right.
So I got to help you become successful. Therefore, I become successful. So it's this go-giver mentality and go-giver structure that, the network marketing industry has given us that helps us grow, right? But ultimately, it's still on a contingent basis. I have to help you first before I succeed.
Right.
So if I help enough people get what they want, I eventually get what I want. That's what Jim Rohn said.
Yeah.
And it's perfect for this industry.
Yeah. I love that. So when you went and did the 5 cities a month or whatever, what were you doing? Because you're obviously representing EXP Canada. What were you doing in these cities where you're traveling around?
Usually there are basically events where, it's like from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I'm speaking on panel or speaking to promote EXP or speaking what I usually speak about, which is helping you get more business. That's what I did. And the time that I'm there in that city, I will meet a few agents to sit down with them to do some stewardship to make sure that they're taken care of. Listen, like I'm the president of EXP Realty Canada. Any problems you have, you come to me and I can help you take care of it. I'm here to help you, to serve you, right? To make sure that you feel that we care about you, we love on you. So it's more about being a servant leader than anything else. So when I'm not traveling, I'm home doing corporate calls from literally 7 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I get to do my own business afterwards.
Right.
That would be 5 days a week.
Right. And then weekends, your own business or whatever you're wanting to do.
Yeah, weekends I'm usually super burnt out anyways.
Right. That, I
So
guess, if you're going flat out like that. If you did that for a year, now what does your day look like? What are you doing?
Again, very blessed with the system and the residual income that EXP has, created for myself. I only work 4 days a week, 4 hour a day. So Monday to Thursday, 8 to 12. And then in the afternoon, I get to do fun stuff like this.
Right.
When people need me, and people always tell me like, John, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're busy. I'm really not.
Right.
But that's why, like, I'm available for the people that need my help, that want to get together and contribute to the audience, whoever it is, to give them more energy, to give them more inspiration, or actionable items for them to take away. That's what I do in the afternoon. I get to do that, but 8 to 12 is my work time, Monday to Thursday.
You said you have a training that you more listings, more, what was it?
List more, close more. Yeah. So I built a coaching program and there's 5 coaching calls a week on that. So that's what I'm working on from 8 to 12.
I see. And is that coaching, is that for people that are in your EXP organization or external or both?
I built it because I always wanted to coach, and I was a Mike Ferry organization professional coach as well for 5 years while I was there. And so I always loved coaching, and that's why EXP was good, because I can coach and help people become productive. And so we do that 5 coaching calls a week, and basically it's a lead generation company and coaching on the back end. And basically I do that as a value proposition to attract the EXP. At the same time, we're getting paid to get in front of agents to eventually attract them to EXP.
Right.
Hope that
Yeah,
makes
and
sense.
that makes sense. So you're serving them one way or the other. You can serve them whether they're, within your organization or not. But either way, that's a very cool model. What I love about this is that you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that gave you a model for how to build wealth. And then you just plug into a model like EXP, or, some people plug into the model of multifamily, and maybe you have that as well, but that is their model. And that is a legitimate way to build wealth. And the same thing with this, you plug into a financial model or a business model that you can then use to leverage. And I'm all about creating leverage. What's the best change you made to your business in the last year, other than stepping down from as the president? What was the best change you've made to your businesses?
The best change I made is probably I focused more on physical health and family. After I stepped down from being president of EXP Realty Canada, I still flew about 1 to 2 times a month, Scott, to speak for EXP groups, whether or not they were my own group or other people's group, because I was so well known inside the EXP platform, the system, that people wanted me there to speak to their people. And now, like, I don't get paid to fly anymore. I don't get paid to speak anymore. I still spend my own money, and I was flying around all over the place. And, this year I made a big change to go big on YouTube. so I can create more, online presence, online, attention. Attention is the new currency, right? So that's the biggest change I made. Has it really panned out, like, profitably, or did I grow my organization? I did, but I've made significant strides with my kids.
Right. How old are they?
They're 7 and
Okay,
4.
it's a good age, man, that you could be around.
That's what I'm saying, and, right now, that's the biggest change I made is, like, daddy's not gonna fly 1 to 2 times a month or 3 to 5 times a month. One time I came home and my oldest, Zoe, she would draw a family portrait and I wasn't in there.
Mm,
I know I can work harder. I know I can go out there and grind again, but this is very important time for my sanity, my health, and my family. And should they, become teenagers, they don't want daddy anymore, maybe there's a time where I go back and fly and speak all over the place again. But right now, that's what's important to me. And also for my marriage as well.
yeah.
Very rocky in the first 15 years of my career.
Mhm. Well, yeah, you're pouring everything into your work, and then it's
Yeah.
hard to have much left over. So,
Well,
I
that
think that's noble of you on there. And when you think about if there's real estate agents that listen to this show as well, so who's an ideal real estate agent that you think is perfect for how you guys operate and what you do?
You know what? Our perfect agent avatar is someone who is 3 to 5 years in the business, doing 5 to 10 transactions where, you already know how to do a deal. You're not, struggling by any means, but we can help you scale. We can help you scale up to where you go from 10 transactions to 20 or 30, right? And that's a big difference in, like, surviving and thriving and being able to build a life for yourself and your family,
Right.
right? And I can help you do that. We're not looking for people who are just parking a license at cheapest fees. No, that's not what we're here to do. Like EXP, we're here to help you grow. And that's why we become the best attractor for top teams and top producers.
Mhm.
And that's my agent avatar as well. Not to say that we won't take any brand new agents. We know how to train them and to groom them to become a top producer as well. But the intention is always to help you become a great listing agent, a great buyer's agent that makes good enough money for you to sustain your lifestyle.
Mhm. The book Traction. Maybe explain what that is to our listeners and how you apply that to the different. You kind of have a couple different business units that I can see. There's the personal production, which I don't think you do anymore, but then there's your team, and then there's your training, and then your EXP organization. So how have you structured it to allow you to be able to have more family time?
Thank goodness, thank God, who universe, like he brought me, or the universe brought me Axel. Axel basically runs my coaching program, our team, and also my organization.
Hmm.
He's the integrator
Yep.
and a little bit of a visionary because he's also very creative, where I'm the figurehead, the energy,
Hmm.
and the visionary full time. I know how to coach, and that's like me in the business coaching, but he's like literally doing one-on-ones with all the agents, the nitty-gritty stuff. He hires and fires people within my team to keep everything going, the coaching program and the team as well. And the organization, he helps out also. So basically,
Where did you find him?
where did I find
Yeah.
him? I attracted him through social media. So he became a big fan of me, and this is a funny story. Maybe I should tell it. So I was running ads for sale by owners to call me,
Yeah.
so I can help them sell their home,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of agents went on my post and said, why are you, trying to get these leads? What are you doing? Right? This is a lie or whatever. And I commented on that post saying, this is a for sale by owner lead generation program for seller leads. If you like what I'm doing here, I can certainly introduce you to the company. And Axel saw that post and that reply, and he was like, man, this guy's cool. Let me reach out to him.
Hmm.
Well, he called me out of nowhere just to acknowledge me on how I handled that interaction. That was 2020 during COVID. And lo and behold, 2023, when he wound up his brokerage called Maxit Realty, he said, John, I like who you are and I want to do something with you. I don't know what it is, but I want to do something with you. And then I offered him to come and run the team with me together. So that's how we met each other. And he's been here 3 years, and it's literally the best partnership I've ever
Mm,
had.
amazing. And have you ever done disc profiles? What does your disc profiles look like, or how would you describe you guys' differences?
I'm pretty analytical, and at the same time, I can be driver under stress, where he is full analytical, and we're pretty similar, but we complement each other. And we're both Capricorns. Our birthdays are 4 days apart, January 10th and 6th. So I understand him and he understands me. Wherever I have a gap, he fills it. Wherever he has a gap, I fill it.
Right. That's amazing. So you've been in business a lot, you've done a lot of different things. What's the biggest mistake that you've made? And then now looking back, but there was a lesson in it for you?
Ooh, I've made so many mistakes. The one that I can think about right now is we hired an agent that was top producer. He was specialized in land assemblies, and he's like, "Hey, you know what? I don't want to pay the 75-25, but I can help you guys on your team. But I want to become, a partner instead of one of your team members." I said, "Okay, great, and you can keep your own branding." So he came in, he took 100 listings, and we paid for all the marketing on those 100 listings. And those listings, one by one, either expired or they just didn't sell, okay? And then he left the team and didn't pay back any of the expenses. So that was a $100,000 mistake, and he left the team and took 13 agents from us. That's a big lesson learned. Thank God for EXP because he's still in the downline. The silver lining with that is like we learned very quickly that we had to change our structure. And since then, we changed our structure where the team no longer pays for all the expenses up front. The agent does. But then when the property sells, we split that with you.
Right.
But only when they're successful. And when they're not, they have skin in the game where, we're not just going to take listings and let it expire because the team pay for it
Right.
anyways. So that took us from like severely in the hole to like profitability.
Were you guys generating the leads and then giving them to these people, or were you?
Correct.
So that was you generated leads, and then you also there's a cost of listing. You got to do all the. So and then you said, hey, we'll get it on the back end, but then you didn't get. There was no back end.
There's no back end. He took 104 listings. I think one of them sold, and it wasn't even land assembly. It was the seller couldn't wait anymore, and they sold it for resale pricing.
Mm.
1 out of 104.
Wow, that's a big lesson. So then now you have to partner. If they don't have anything in it, they're not going to care, right? Like it's
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting. But to your point, there was a silver lining is that he's still at your company, which means there's still a potential for revenue from that production still. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I've learned so much, Scott, in the last 5, 6 years. Every level you go beyond, you are going to have some setback or however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
There's going to be something that'll hit you along the road. I've lost best of friends.
Hmm.
I've lost, some people just maybe they were that way, but they just never showed yourself to you until you hit a certain level of success. Then all of a sudden, it's like, I'm happy for you until you're more successful than I am.
If that's going on in their head, something like who knows? But at the end of the day, the relationships. I heard one of my friends who built a company and sold it to Microsoft told me that thing. I said, "What did you learn?" And he did like he sell for millions, right? Like lots of money. And he said two things. One, the people you start with is not always the people you end with because sometimes people don't want to come along the journey. They don't want to grow. They don't want to change. And he said 80% of the things that we thought mattered didn't. If we focused on the core product, we did all these other things, but most of it was just this core thing. And so the hardest part is like what's focusing on the 20% that matters the most. And I remind myself of that. I don't live it out perfectly, but I do remind myself of that advice from him.
Yeah. Make the main thing, and everything else is,
Hmm.
just it's going to happen anyway. So, yeah.
You said you're doing some YouTube stuff. So what is on the horizon for you now? What are you excited about?
Well, I'm really excited about building the YouTube long form content where it can more so passively attract and passively prospect agents,
Hmm.
where YouTube long form, it just lives there forever. Whereas short form, I'm really good at. I have 220,000 followers on Instagram, but short form it's kind of like it only lists for about 24 to 48 hours and it's
Yeah.
gone. Whereas long form, it keeps going and it can help you prospect 2 a.m. in the morning. People are watching your long form. Right? So I'm excited about that. And that's why I stopped flying to go to turbocharge my long form content to attract more automatically. And I really bought into the 7-11 4 method, which is 7 hours of content that people consume of you, 11 touch points on 4 different platforms. Once they've done all that, they'll book a call with you. And it's almost a done deal because they already know who you are, how you speak, what you do.
Right. 7-Eleven 4. I've heard
Yeah.
that before. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you make this long form content on YouTube, are you chopping it for short form as well? Or you have a totally different strategy?
I'm getting my Instagram guys to go into YouTube to chop that up, but I have 2 different companies. So the creator agent helps me with YouTube, and Click Dreams helps me with Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts.
Interesting. Yeah, I've done long form content for 12 years, which is the podcast. I still have not really cracked the short form content. I'm gonna have to climb all over your stuff and see. Well, for you, what was the tipping point? When did you figure it out, or did it just come to you naturally?
The short form, it might be more so vanity and like, chasing clout a little bit because, you look big,
Yeah.
right? 220,000 followers, you're looking
Yeah.
big. but how much you actually convert from that is the key.
Mhm.
So I was converting at a high level with Instagram, but once I add a YouTube to it, then it becomes unstoppable because people, if they want to take a deep dive with you and you don't have a YouTube channel, then it's tough for them to take a deep dive because they can only watch short snippets of you on IG,
Mhm.
right? But when you have long form and people want to all of a sudden DM or find you somewhere, people usually go back to Instagram to DM you.
Right.
I've watched a lot of your YouTube content. I'm ready to have a conversation to join EXP.
Right.
That is the natural progression of a booked call.
Mhm.
Whereas I think if you just have Instagram, it's tougher. It's tougher to build
Right.
trust.
Yeah. And but on a technical note, so these people that reach out, who do they talk to, you or somebody on your team?
That's a great question. So for the coaching program, it's somebody on my team. I always refer to somebody on my team. Whereas joining EXP, then you talk to either myself. If you want to join the organization, you're not going to be wanting to join the Align group locally, then you talk to me. But when you want to join the Align group locally, then you talk to
I
Axel.
see. Is that in the 8 to 12 time you work? Is that what some of what you're doing? Are these calls as well?
Yes. Yes. Majority of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're doing these book calls, plus you've got your coaching that you have in there. And then how do you not run out of ideas for coaching? Or do you just find it's do the same thing, say the same thing with different words?
Say the same thing with different words and for different markets, for different mindsets, for different people. And you say the same thing 2 years later, people hear it differently.
They're in a different place too.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, how many ways can you chop up mindset, action, activities, and, skills? How many different ways? There's only so many things you can coach on.
Right. Yeah, I found I've read a book, say I read it 5 years ago, and then I'll read it again, and I'll be like, "Well, did they add this section? I don't remember this at all." But the book hasn't changed. It's just that I
That's
wasn't ready for that lesson at that time, and I ignored
Yeah.
it.
Yes. I just literally read Think and Grow Rich for the 200th time, and I'm still getting something new from it.
Right. Yeah, and you're like, "Did they put something in here?" It's like, "No, you have a new set of eyes that is making connections you didn't see the last times you read it."
Exactly. Different filter.
Other than Think and Grow Rich, what's the best book? What's one book you recommend everybody read?
Depending on where you're at, I mean, you can read my book, How to Be a Beast. If you're a real estate agent, need some inspiration, motivation. I share my story and I share actionable items that you can take away. So, How to Be a Beast is the book. I'm working on my second book called The Beast Leadership. It's my journey from earning $24,000 a year selling jeans to becoming a president of a multi-billion dollar publicly traded company. So I'm excited about that. But if you want, so it's just 1 page a day. That's how I approach everything is like, I'm not going to make something amazing happen in 1 day, but I will never quit on taking the actions every single day. A little bit every single day can add up to become the compound effect. And really the momentum just builds up. The accumulation effect. It just, if you never quit, something magical will
I think that's the
happen.
pattern in your real estate career and your brokerage and all the other things you've been doing. It's just you just take a plan and you just stick to it and work it.
Yeah, I just take a plan, stick to it, work it, and I have the end in mind. And then I just go and execute small actions every single day until it becomes something. But most people want it too quickly and are not willing to be consistent. If there's any superpower that I have is the consistency, and I never give up.
I've often said I think the best sales movie is Groundhog Day because it's you do the same thing every day and get a little bit better at it. That's it. It's all you're doing. It's not like it's the same activities again and again and again and repeat, repeat, repeat. In that movie, he catches a kid falling out of a tree because he's gotten so good at the same day. And I think that's what sales.
Yeah, and he learned how to play piano. He learned how to dance. He learned everything. And it's just like, it's not mastery, but he's just been around so long and done the same thing so long that he's mastered
Yes.
everything. It's no magic.
No.
But I wanted to answer your last question. I would say that David Goggins, for
Okay.
me,
Yeah, that's a great book.
Can't
Yep.
Hurt Me, okay, and Never Finished. Those two books are just, for me at this stage, I'm like, okay, I'm never
Yep.
finished. And You Can't Hurt Me. I'm just going to keep
Mhm.
going. So I
That's
think
what you
those two
recommend.
books.
Okay. Well, dude, this has been awesome. Where can people
Yeah.
find you online?
Search me on Instagram. Tsai Real Estate is the handle, and you DM me there or consume my YouTube content, John Tsai on YouTube, and be happy to have a conversation. Whether or not you are in real estate or mortgage broker, I'd be happy to have a conversation with you to
Right.
help you
And it's
along.
TSAI, the spelling.
Correct.
And we'll have links to everything in the show. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it, John. Good chat with you.
Thank you.
Hey, as John said, he's not the most creative guy in the room. He just plugs into a proven system and method that works. If you're a broker wondering, how the heck do I get to this? One of the things that we do at Bricks is we've basically copied the EXP model. We have rev share, we've got stock options, we've got cap commissions. We're completely virtual, meaning we keep our costs down so we can keep more money in our agent's pocket. And, this idea, when I started this company in 2022, I'm also not that creative. I just copy what I see. And I shared this model before I started the brokerage. I would get broker owners reach out to me and they'd say, hey, Scott, what's your best idea? And I'd say copy EXP and Real Brokerage, because what those guys are doing is growing like crazy. And they would all be excited. The owners would, and they come back. And I probably told 5 or 6 owners this. They come back a few days later and say, hey, Scott, I did the math. I'm going to make less money. And I'd say to every one of them, yes, you'll make less money, but you'll build a way bigger business. And so our model is designed to be less profitable per agent, but it can build a significantly bigger business, and then you can participate in it. And what I love is that with a rev share, it allows you to create another revenue stream, like having a rental property. If you're interested in that, hit me up on social, send me an email. You know where to find me. I hope you found this episode useful. Thanks, John, for coming and chatting with me. And as I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that someone else hasn't already solved. Your problem is finding the answer when you need it. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.